I am sitting in my kitchen this Sunday morning, watching my three grown children preparing breakfast together. Emma, now 22, is making pancakes from scratch, while Jake, 20, carefully measures coffee beans for our morning brew. Lily, 18, and full of energy, arranges fresh fruit in a colorful bowl. This peaceful scene takes me back 15 years to when they were just three scared, abandoned little ones I brought into my home. Who would have thought that my decision to raise my sister's children would lead to such a fierce confrontation as this? But sometimes, doing the right thing brings the most unexpected consequences. Before I share this story with you all, please let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to support me. And now, let me take you back to 2008, when everything began to change forever. Back then, I was Chelsea, a 25-year-old elementary school teacher living in Cleveland, Ohio. My life was simple, but fulfilling, teaching third graders and coming home to my quiet apartment each evening. My older sister, Sophia, was a completely different story. At 28, she had always been our parents' golden child, spoiled and entitled, believing the world owed her everything she desired. Sophia had three beautiful children with three different men. Emma was 7 years old, a bright girl with curious brown eyes who reminded me so much of myself at that age. Jake, 5, was a gentle soul who loved building with blocks and asking endless questions about how things worked. Little Lily, only 3, was pure sunshine with her blonde curls and infectious giggle. These children deserved so much better than what they were getting. My sister's lifestyle was chaotic and irresponsible. She spent most evenings at downtown bars, coming home well past midnight, or sometimes not at all. The children were often left alone in their small apartment, with nothing but cereal for dinner and whatever entertainment they could find on their old television. When I visited, I noticed the refrigerator was usually empty, except for beer and leftover takeout containers. The house was consistently messy, with dirty clothes scattered everywhere and dishes piled high in the sink. The warning signs had been building for months, but I kept telling myself that Sophia would eventually step up and be the mother these children needed. Emma would call me late at night, crying, because Mommy had not come home yet and she was scared. Her little voice would shake as she whispered into the phone, afraid to speak too loudly in case someone heard her. Jake had been running a high fever for 3 straight days, but Sophia insisted that children get sick all the time and recover on their own without medical attention. Meanwhile, Lily was still wearing diapers that went unchanged for hours, causing painful rashes and infections on her delicate skin. I finally decided to have a serious conversation with Sophia about her responsibilities as a mother. I drove to her apartment on a Thursday evening, finding her getting ready to go out again while the children sat quietly in front of the television, still wearing the same clothes from 2 days earlier. When I brought up my concerns about their well-being, Sophia became immediately defensive and hostile. "These are my kids. Chelsea," she snapped, applying lipstick aggressively in the hallway mirror. "I can raise them however I want to raise them. You do not have any right to interfere in my business." When I mentioned the late-night calls from Emma and Jake's untreated fever, Sophia turned on me with fury I had never seen before. She accused me of being jealous because I had no children of my own, while she had 3. According to her twisted logic, I was just a lonely school teacher trying to insert myself into her family because my own life was empty and meaningless. The argument escalated quickly, with voices rising and harsh words being exchanged. The confrontation ended with Sophia pointing toward the door and telling me I was no longer welcome in her home or around her children. She threatened to call the police if I tried to contact them again, claiming I was harassing her family. As I drove home that night, my heart ached, thinking about Emma, Jake, and Lily trapped in that situation with no one to advocate for their basic needs. 2 long months passed without any contact with the children. Every day I worried about their safety and well-being, but Sophia had made it clear that my involvement was unwanted. I tried calling several times, but she never answered the phone, and my messages went unreturned. One evening, I drove past their apartment building and noticed that all the windows were covered with blankets, making the place look abandoned and uninhabitable. The uncertainty was killing me inside, but I felt powerless to help. Everything changed on a cold February night when my phone rang at 2 o'clock in the morning. Mrs. Patterson, Sophia's 65-year-old neighbor, was calling in a panic. This sweet elderly woman had been hearing children crying for hours and could make out Emma's voice calling Aunt Chelsea through the thin walls. She was worried something terrible had happened and did not know who else to contact. I threw on clothes and rushed to the apartment complex, my heart pounding with dread about what I might find. Mrs. Patterson met me at the entrance, her face etched with concern as she led me upstairs. When we reached Sophia's door, I could hear the faint sounds of children whimpering inside. Using the spare key Mrs. Patterson had been given for emergencies, we entered the apartment and discovered a scene that will haunt me forever. The 3 children were huddled together in the corner of the living room, Emma, with her arms wrapped protectively around her younger siblings. They looked like they had not eaten in days, their clothes dirty and their faces streaked with tears. The apartment had no electricity, leaving them in complete darkness, except for the streetlight filtering through the covered windows. The smell was overwhelming, a mixture of spoiled food, unchanged diapers, and general neglect that made my stomach turn. Emma had lost so much weight that her clothes hung loosely on her tiny frame. Her once bright eyes were sunken and dull, and her hair was matted and greasy from not being washed. When she saw me, she began sobbing with relief, throwing herself into my arms and clinging desperately to my coat. Jake was running a dangerously high fever, his little body shaking uncontrollably as he struggled to breathe through congested lungs. His cough sounded deep and painful, clearly indicating a serious respiratory infection. Lily was in the worst condition of all. She had severe diarrhea and had been sitting in the same soiled diaper for what appeared to be several days. Her skin was raw and bleeding from the constant moisture and bacteria, creating open sores that looked infected. The poor baby could barely lift her head, and her usual bright personality had been replaced by listless exhaustion. Between tears, Emma managed to explain that Mommy had left the previous week with a man she had met at a bar. Sophia had told them she would be back in a couple of days, but had never returned or even called to check on them. The children had been surviving on crackers and water, too scared to leave the apartment or ask neighbors for help. They had been waiting and hoping that either their mother would come back or that somehow I would find them. Without hesitation, I made the decision to bring all 3 children to my apartment immediately. We gathered what few clean clothes they had and loaded them into my car, Emma still refusing to let go of my hand, even for a moment. The drive to my place was heartbreaking as I listened to their stories of fear and abandonment, realizing how much they had suffered during those 2 months of separation. Once we arrived at my apartment, I focused on addressing their immediate medical needs. Jake's fever was dangerously high, so I rushed him to the emergency room where doctors diagnosed him with severe pneumonia that required immediate treatment. The medical staff was shocked by his condition and questioned me extensively about how long he had been ill. Lily needed urgent attention for her infected diaper rash, which had become so severe that she required prescription antibiotics and special cream treatments. Meanwhile, I was desperately trying to contact Sophia to let her know where the children were and demand that she return immediately. Through mutual friends, I finally learned that she was in Miami, Florida, with her newest boyfriend apparently living it up on beaches and in nightclubs. When I finally reached her by phone 3 days later, her response was shockingly casual and indifferent. "Oh, good you found them," she said, as if we were talking about lost pets instead of her own children. I was getting so tired and overwhelmed with everything. Just keep them for a while until I figure things out. I really need this time to find myself and figure out what I want to do with my life. I was absolutely furious with her cavalier attitude and demanded that she come home immediately to take care of her responsibilities. But Sophia just laughed and said she was having too much fun to worry about all that drama right now. She promised to call the children soon, but never did, leaving them to wonder if their mother had abandoned them permanently. The challenges of suddenly caring for 3 traumatized children were overwhelming. I had to take extended leave from my teaching position to focus on their physical and emotional recovery. Jake spent a week in the hospital fighting pneumonia, and I barely left his bedside during those critical days. Lily required daily medical treatments for her skin infections, and the healing process was slow and painful for such a young child. Emma, despite being only 7 years old, had taken on enormous responsibility during their abandonment and was struggling with anxiety and nightmares. She was terrified that I would leave them too and refused to let me out of her sight for weeks. Professional counseling became necessary for all 3 children to help them process their trauma and learn to trust again. 3 months later, Sophia finally decided to make a dramatic reappearance. She showed up at my apartment unannounced, demanding to take her children home immediately. By this time, the kids had recovered physically and were thriving in a stable, loving environment. They had gained weight, their medical issues were resolved, and they were beginning to smile and laugh again like normal children should. Sophia was outraged to discover how attached the children had become to me during her absence. They no longer ran to her with excitement, but instead stayed close to my side, clearly uncomfortable with this woman who had abandoned them. Emma, who had always been articulate for her age, found the courage to speak up and tell her mother that she did not want to go back to their old life. "You ruined our trust, did you not?" Sophia accused me, her voice filled with anger and resentment. "Now, they do not even want to call me mommy anymore. You poisoned them against their own mother." But the truth was that the children remembered those terrifying days of abandonment and were not eager to repeat that experience. They had found safety, consistency, and genuine love in my home, and they were smart enough to recognize the difference between my care and their mother's neglect. Sophia's anger over losing her children's affection led her to take legal action against me. She filed a lawsuit claiming that I had kidnapped her children and was illegally keeping them from their rightful mother. The accusation was devastating, but I knew I had to fight for these children who had already endured so much trauma and instability. Preparing for court was emotionally exhausting, but I was determined to present the truth about what these children had experienced. I gathered photographic evidence of the condition I had found them in, including pictures of their filthy apartment and their malnourished appearance. Medical records from Jake's pneumonia treatment and Lily's infected skin provided clear documentation of the neglect they had suffered. Mrs. Patterson was willing to testify about the night she called me and what she had witnessed over the months of Sophia's irresponsible behavior. During the court proceedings, the full extent of Sophia's negligence was revealed to the judge and social workers. The testimony painted a clear picture of a mother who had repeatedly prioritized her social life and romantic relationships over her children's basic safety and well-being. The medical evidence spoke for itself, showing that these children had been suffering from preventable conditions that could have had serious long-term consequences. The judge was visibly disturbed by the evidence and questioned Sophia extensively about her decision to leave 3 young children alone for over a week without adequate food utilities or supervision. Sophia's answers were defensive and showed no real understanding of the severity of her actions or their impact on her children's physical and emotional health. In the end, the court awarded me temporary guardianship of all 3 children with the possibility of permanent adoption if Sophia did not demonstrate significant changes in her lifestyle and parenting abilities. The judge made it clear that the children's safety and well-being were the court's primary concern, not the biological relationship between parent and child. Sophia was absolutely livid with the court's decision and began a campaign of harassment and intimidation against me. She called my apartment at all hours of the day and night, leaving threatening voicemails about how she would destroy my life for stealing her children. She showed up at my workplace, creating scenes in front of my students and their parents, forcing my principal to consider whether my personal situation was affecting my professional responsibilities. "You think you are some kind of saint, do you not?" she screamed during one particularly ugly confrontation outside my school. "These are my babies, and I can take them back whenever I decide I want them. You are just a pathetic substitute who will never really be their mother." Her behavior became so erratic and threatening that I had to obtain a restraining order through the court system. The legal protection helped, but the emotional toll of constantly looking over my shoulder and worrying about her next move was exhausting for both me and the children. Despite these challenges, we slowly began building a real family together. The financial strain of supporting 3 additional people on a teacher's salary was significant, so I started tutoring students in the evenings and weekends to supplement my income. Every dollar went toward providing the children with proper nutrition, clothing, medical care, and educational opportunities they had never had before. As months turned into years, something beautiful began to happen. Emma, Jake, and Lily started calling me Mom instead of Aunt Chelsea. And each time it happened, my heart swelled with pride and love. I officially adopted all 3 children when Sophia failed to meet the court-mandated requirements for regaining custody, giving us legal security and emotional closure. 15 years passed, and watching these children grow into successful, confident adults became the greatest joy of my life. Emma graduated from college with highest honors and became a registered nurse, dedicated to helping others the way someone had once helped her. Her compassion and strength in dealing with difficult patients clearly stemmed from her own experiences of overcoming adversity. Jake earned a full academic scholarship to study computer engineering and now works for a major technology company designing software that helps hospitals manage patient care more efficiently. His gentle nature and problem-solving abilities made him perfectly suited for work that improves other people's lives while utilizing his natural talents. Lily just started her freshman year at art school, where she is studying graphic design with dreams of creating children's books that bring joy and hope to kids who might be facing difficult situations. Her sunny personality, despite everything she endured as a toddler, continues to inspire everyone around her. All 3 of my children maintained excellent relationships with me throughout their teenage years and into adulthood. They called regularly, visited often, and included me in all their major life decisions and celebrations. We had created the stable, loving family that none of us had experienced in our early years, and the bonds we formed were stronger than any biological connection could have been. Then, after 15 years of complete silence, Sophia suddenly reappeared at my front door. The woman standing there was barely recognizable as the sister I once knew. Her hair had gone completely gray. Deep lines marked her face, and her clothes suggested financial hardship. She looked tired, defeated, and much older than her 43 years. Through social media and mutual acquaintances, Sophia had learned about her children's remarkable achievements and success. She knew about Emma's nursing career, Jake's engineering position, and Lily's artistic pursuits. She had been watching their accomplishments from afar, and now she wanted to reconnect with the successful adults they had become. Her demeanor was different from the angry, entitled woman who had threatened me years earlier. She seemed genuinely remorseful about her past behavior and expressed regret about missing so much of their lives. However, I could sense that her renewed interest in her biological children was not entirely driven by maternal love, but by knowledge of their current success and stability. The timing of her return, coinciding with their achievements, rather than their struggles, made her motivations questionable. She had not been there during the difficult teenage years, the college application stress, or any of the challenges that we had faced together as a family. Now that they were independent, successful adults, she wanted to claim her role as their mother and benefit from the relationship. Just weeks after Sophia's unexpected return, my 3 children surprised me with an incredibly generous and touching gesture. They had secretly been saving money from their salaries and scholarships for months, planning to give me $20,000 as a thank you gift for everything I had done for them over the years. Emma, Jake, and Lily presented me with the check during a family dinner, explaining that they wanted me to finally take the vacation I had always dreamed of, but could never afford while supporting 3 children on a teacher's income. They had researched trips to Hawaii and Europe, encouraging me to choose wherever I wanted to go and enjoy myself without worrying about expenses for the first time in decades. "Mom, you sacrificed everything for us," Emma said, tears in her eyes as she handed me the envelope. "You gave up promotions, relationships, and your own dreams to make sure we had everything we needed. This is just a small way to show you how grateful we are for the life you gave us." Jake nodded in agreement, adding, "We calculated how much money you spent on our medical bills, education, and basic needs over the years. This does not even come close to covering what you invested in us, but we want you to know that we recognize your sacrifice and love you for it." Little Lily, now grown but still my baby, wrapped her arms around me and whispered, "You saved our lives, and we will never forget that. Please let us do this one thing to make you happy after all the happiness you gave us." Their thoughtfulness and generosity moved me to tears, and I felt overwhelmed by the love and gratitude these amazing young people were expressing. After years of putting their needs first, the idea of doing something purely for my own enjoyment felt almost foreign, but their insistence and excitement made it impossible to refuse their gift. However, word of their generous present somehow reached Sophia, who immediately saw an opportunity for personal gain. She appeared at my house the next day, demanding to speak with me about what she called the money situation. Her entire demeanor had changed from the seemingly repentant woman who had asked for forgiveness just weeks earlier. "I heard about the $20,000, she announced without any preliminary pleasantries. "Half of that money should rightfully belong to me as their biological mother. I gave birth to them, and I deserve recognition for that contribution to their lives." I was absolutely stunned by her audacity and entitlement. After 15 years of complete absence from their lives, she believed she was entitled to profit from their success and generosity. She had not contributed a single dollar to their upbringing, education, medical care, or emotional support, yet she felt justified in claiming a portion of their gift to me. When I refused to even consider her ridiculous demand, Sophia became increasingly aggressive and threatening. She claimed that she would take legal action against both me and her biological children if we did not voluntarily give her the money she deserved. According to her twisted logic, her genetic contribution to their existence gave her permanent financial rights to their earnings and gifts. "You cannot just steal my children and then profit from their success," she argued, her voice rising with each word. "I am their real mother, and that has to count for something. $10,000 is not too much to ask for bringing them into this world." For the first time in my relationship with Sophia, I responded with complete confidence and authority. Years of watching my children overcome their early trauma and achieve their dreams had given me the strength to stand up to her manipulation and entitlement without any doubt or hesitation. "Sophia, where were you when Jake had pneumonia and could have died from your neglect?" I asked, looking directly into her eyes. "Where were you when Emma had nightmares about being abandoned and needed someone to hold her until she felt safe again? Where were you when Lily took her first steps, spoke her first words, or needed help with homework?" I continued, my voice steady and firm. "You were not there for any of the moments that matter in raising children. You were not there for scraped knees, broken hearts, graduation ceremonies, or college applications. You gave birth to them, but I became their mother through 15 years of daily love, sacrifice, and commitment." My children, now adults capable of making their own decisions, stood firmly behind my refusal to give Sophia any portion of their gift. Emma, Jake, and Lily made it clear that they considered me their real mother, and that Sophia had forfeited any claim to that title through her choices and actions. "We do not owe you anything," Emma told Sophia directly. "Chelsea earned every penny of this gift through years of love and sacrifice. You lost the right to call yourself our mother when you abandoned us as children." Jake added, "A real mother does not leave her kids alone and scared for weeks while she parties with strangers. A real mother does not come back after 15 years, only when she hears about money. You are not our mother in any way that matters." Even gentle Lily found her voice saying, "Mom Chelsea has been there for every important moment of our lives. She is the only mother we know or want to know. Please leave our family alone." The confrontation ended with me firmly asking Sophia to leave my home and never contact any of us again. I made it clear that her threats of legal action did not intimidate me, and that we would not be manipulated by her sense of entitlement to money she had no part in earning. Over the past 15 years, I had learned that family is not defined by biology, but by commitment, love, and daily acts of care and sacrifice. Emma, Jake, and Lily had become my children through choice, not chance, and our bond was stronger than any genetic connection could ever be. The experience taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no to someone who is trying to take advantage of your kindness or your family's success. Protecting the people you love sometimes requires standing firm against manipulation and refusing to reward bad behavior with undeserved benefits. As I write this, I am preparing for my dream vacation to Hawaii, surrounded by my 3 amazing children who insisted on planning every detail of the trip. Looking at them now, successful and confident adults with bright futures ahead of them, I know that every sacrifice I made was worth it, and every difficult decision was correct. Sometimes life presents us with unexpected challenges that seem overwhelming, but it also provides opportunities to create something beautiful from difficult circumstances. The question I want to leave you with is this: does love require obligation, or does true love grow from choice and daily commitment? Before you go, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to make difficult decisions to protect your family? Do you think biological relationships automatically deserve respect regardless of behavior? Please share your experiences and opinions. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and share it with others who might benefit from hearing it. Do not forget to subscribe for more real-life stories that explore the complexities of family and relationships. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope you find the courage to make the right choices for the people you love, even when those choices are difficult. Remember that the families we choose can be just as strong and meaningful as the families we are born into.